Buddha said, if you know that they are not there, and then your mind will be very bright. Eyes are shining. Face is bright. Why? You don't have any problem with regard to these five. Now, the beauty comes from within, knowing inner good quality, not from outside. Although we try to put outside beauty, that is not right beauty. Okay. Glad, train day and night in wholesome, this is the wholesome mental state. Again, Sariputta Bhikkhu should consider thus: are the five aggregates affected by clinging fully understood by me? If by reviewing he knows thus, the five aggregates affected by clinging are not fully understood by me, then he should make effort to fully understand those five aggregates affected by clinging. What are the five aggregates affected by clinging? Now, five aggregates is one thing, five aggregates affected by clinging is another. Are they two different things or the same thing? What are the five aggregates? Form, feeling, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. Five aggregates. We all have that. We have form, body, we have feelings, we have perceptions, we have volitional formations, and we have consciousness. We all have it. These are the things we all hold on to. Nothing else. We hold on to our body, our feelings, our perceptions, our thoughts, and our consciousness. Right? And therefore they are called five chords of five aggregates subject to clinging. Okay? Now, even the Buddhas have that five aggregates. Arahants have five aggregates. They are supposed to be enlightened. And if they also have five aggregates and we have five aggregates, if the five aggregates are called aggregates subject to clinging, their five aggregates also are subject to clinging? Why not?
They don't cling to them?
Eh?
Because they don't cling to them?
They don't have the
enlightened
desire. Now, in their mind, there is no desire to cling to the aggregates, but somebody else may have an outside, like Pilindavacha. Pilindavacha was an Arahant. He had the five aggregates. He did not have clinging to his aggregates, but somebody else, seeing his very shining, beautiful, young, majestic body, had lust. So, the five aggregates of clinging, the one who lives in it may not have that. Therefore, that person's five aggregates are not aggregates of clinging to him or her. But someone else can have clinging to that aggregates. So, one who thinks of one's own five aggregates and knows that that person does not cling to the aggregates, that person would be delighted and happy, cultivate that mind, stay in that state day and night and maintain the serenity, clarity and brightness of his or her appearance. Again, Sariputta, now Buddha goes into another area. Now friends, each of them is a subject of meditation. Each of them. 5 aggregates is in the Dhammanupassana, in Mahasatipatthana, 4 foundations of mindfulness. These are subjects of meditation. Then Sariputta, Bhikkhu should consider thus, are the 4 foundations of mindfulness developed in me? I don't think anybody else in our group here does not know 4 foundations of mindfulness. Everybody knows. But these 2 gentlemen, you know? No. And those 2 lady and gentlemen? No. And you? No. And you? No. Right? 4 foundations of mindfulness. 4 foundations of mindfulness, they are sometimes called 4 establishment of mindfulness. They are called body, feelings, mind or consciousness, and mind objects. Mind objects. And these are called 4 establishment of mindfulness. Our meditation practice, we use these 4 as objects of meditation. So if somebody, a bhikkhu, knows, if reviving he knows thus, the 4 foundations of mindfulness are not developed in me, then he should make effort to develop them. And once developed, then he can abide happy and glad, training day and night in wholesome state. Once you establish yourself in 4 foundations of mindfulness, that gives you pleasure, that gives you happiness, that gives you comfort within yourself. When you live with this pleasure, joy, happiness, comfort, day and night, you are shining. Mind is shining, eyes are shining, face is shining, and everything shining. Then Buddha goes into now, from now on, he talked about 37 factors of enlightenment. Satta tingsati bodhipakkhika dhamma. Satta tingsati bodhipakkhika dhamma. 37 factors of enlightenment. I give them, Buddha has mentioned them here by name. We just spend few minutes elaborating, at least enumerating these 37 factors. Now, we mentioned 4 foundations of mindfulness, 4. Then, here we see 4 right kinds of striving. Right kind of striving are, they are called effort to prevent unarisen, unwholesome mental states. What are the unarisen, unwholesome mental states? Greed, hatred, delusion, aversion, jealousy, fear, tension, anxiety, worry, and so forth and so on. All these are unarisen, unwholesome mental states. At any given moment, our mind is not filled with greed or hatred or delusion. None of them may be in the mind at any given moment. If we can maintain that in that way, that's wonderful. So we have to make effort to maintain that state. In spite of our very good intention to maintain such state, something happens and they can arise. Then we have to make effort to get rid of them. That is called second effort. First is the effort to prevent. Second is the effort to overcome. Then once overcome, we have to arouse some wholesome mental state. Instead of greed, we arouse the thought of generosity. Instead of hatred, we arouse the thought of friendliness. Instead of jealousy, we arouse joy, appreciative joy. And so forth, the wholesome, positive mental state we try to deliberately arouse in our mind. Once aroused, then we must make effort to maintain, sustain, develop, cultivate and keep them in mind. These are the four types of effort. Effort to prevent, effort to overcome, effort to arouse, effort to cultivate. Then spirit, and then four bases for spiritual power develop in me. They are Chanda, Chitta, Virya, Vibhamsa. Chanda means wish to develop spiritual mental state, to accomplish something that not an ordinarily we have, very special state. That we have to have a chanda, desire or will. Chitta means determination. Virya again, effort, and vimamsa, investigation, using our thinking. Now how many have we mentioned? 4 foundations, 4 effort, 4 bases for spiritual faculties. How many? 12 altogether. Now we go to the group categories of 5. Now, if somebody has not developed 5 faculties, then that person must try to develop them. What are the 5 faculties? 5 faculties. Faculty Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. Faith, not blind faith, faith based on understanding. It's called avecca prasada. Faith based on understanding. Saddha, Virya, effort, mindfulness, concentration and wisdom. These are called 5 faculties. So when one investigates or review oneself, look at the mind and see whether these faculties are cultivated or not. If not cultivated, one must make effort to cultivate them. They are called Indriya. Indriya means Indra in Pali and Sanskrit. Indra means head of gods. All there are various deities, and head of all of them, the king of all the gods, are called Indra. Similarly, this faculty is called Indriya because each of them has its own power and each of them is the king for that particular thing. What Saddha or faith does, wisdom does not do. What effort does, concentration cannot do. Like that, each of these mental states has its own special power. Therefore, they are called, they are chief. Therefore, they are called indriya. Then when we cultivate them, they become power. Therefore, they are called bala. And there are also five powers, five faculties. Same five faculties become five powers. Now how many? 12, 10, 22. Then 7 factors of enlightenment. When one investigates oneself, look at oneself and ask oneself, do I have these 7 factors of enlightenment? What are the 7 factors of enlightenment? Each factor is bringing an aspect of enlightenment. We are just mentioning the list, but if we especially spend some time thinking, we can see how each of them become a factor of enlightenment. Number 1 of the 7. Who can tell me number 1?
Sati.
Sati. Sati. You have to have a sati to remember that. So they have sati. Sati is mindfulness. Number 1 is mindfulness. Number 2, investigation. Investigation is a factor of enlightenment. Not blindly accepting something. Keep asking questions. What are the investigators do? They poke their nose and ask questions. Various, all kinds of questions. Ask and watch and watch and watch. Ask. So Buddha said, do that for the Dhamma. Don't accept it like parrot or baby. Investigate. Only when you investigate, your mind opens to the enlightenment. That is therefore second factor of enlightenment. Third is, when you investigate, you become more energetic. You want to investigate because you find it's like digging a diamond mine. When you dig and dig, you find diamond. You get encouraged and dig more. And find, dig and dig, find some more. You dig more. That is called effort. Become encouraged. That is called third factor of enlightenment, virya, effort. When you make effort, you find more and more new things. Then what happens? You become very delighted. Wow! I found gold, I found diamond, I found something new. You keep looking. Therefore, that is called joy factor of enlightenment. Aren't you joyful when you see something new, very precious, most importantly? Joy factor of enlightenment. Fifth is, when joy factor of enlightenment arises, you will not simply be excited. You will be very, very content. You will be very glad. And mind is really come to a sort of a settling, becoming calm. Well, I am now glad, happy. I found something very noble. This is something wonderful. That's called tranquility factor of enlightenment. When tranquility factor of enlightenment arises, what happens? Mind gains concentration because everything is settled down. That's the sixth factor of enlightenment. Then, when you gain concentration, your mind is in balance. Not imbalance, but mind is in the balanced state. That's called equanimity factor of enlightenment. All these 7 factors are, they develop in this sequence, this order. You cannot jump or skip one and get double promotion and jump into the another one. Everyone arises in that order. First mindfulness, then investigation, then effort, then joy, then tranquility, then concentration, finally equanimity, to gain true. Then the last group, these are 7 factors of enlightenment. Now how many we have now? 4 foundations, 4 effort, 4 bases, 12, 5 faculties, 5 powers, 22, 7 factors, 29, and then Noble Eightfold Path, starting with right understanding. Noble Eightfold Path, I think everybody knows. In order to put them in perspective, let me list the 7 Noble Eightfold Path by name. Number 1, understanding. Not just any understanding. Understanding business, understanding your chemistry, understanding your mathematics. No. Understanding, right understanding. Right understanding is the understanding that can liberate the mind from greed, hatred and delusion and suffering. Right understanding is the understanding of what our problems are. What are our problems? Our personal problems, not universal problems. Understanding. Friends, people don't like to hear these things, but only wise persons like to hear them. Understanding that we all live unsatisfactory life. Our life is not fully satisfactory. Not at all. Always we are looking some better state of something better. Today we want to be better than yesterday. Tomorrow better than today. Day after tomorrow better than that day. And so forth and so on. Every day we want to see something better and better and better. Then do we get better and better? No, we get worse and worse and worse and worse. Right? Getting old. Is it better? I know that now I'm going to be 87 in 2 months. I know. I'm not getting better. So, this is unsatisfactory. And understand this. When we understand this, getting old is not a problem. Why? We anticipate it. We know that. And if we have understanding, any problem will not be a problem. Because we know this is the very normal, natural things in existence. Number 2, the cause of this unsatisfactoriness. If I am sick, I must know the cause of my sickness to get cure. Understanding that is the second. Third is understanding that this is curable we can definitely get out of this nagging repetition of birth, decay, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. We can get rid of it. Number 4 is Noble Eightfold Path that leads to the ending of this nagging, unsatisfactory existence. Then, when we have mind, equanimity, with the equanimous state of mind, we can proceed with understanding. Otherwise, understanding itself will be biased. It is not impartial, right understanding. In order to have right understanding, we have to have a very impartial state of mind. That is how these 7 factors lead to the right understanding. Otherwise, we still have right understanding to some extent. But still it is ups and downs. Sometimes we understand, sometimes we do not. But if we have an impartial state of mind, our understanding will not be yo-yo. No, today understand, tomorrow don't understand, not like that. It goes straight, developing the mind to see, to gain full understanding. That is called right understanding. Then right thought. Who says anything wrong if the person understands things properly? One who understands properly always say things properly, correctly. What are the correct things to say? Nekkhamma sankappa, avyapada sankappa, avihinsa sankappa. The person would think, not speak, think. Second is right, thinking. The person will think of letting go of greed, hatred and delusion. Letting go. That's called nekkhamma sankappa, right thought. Thought of letting go. Letting go of our anger, letting go of our quarrel, letting go of our bickering, letting go of this. Let go. The longer we hold, the more suffering we will have. Then second thought is avyapada sankappa, thought of friendliness. We all want to live in harmony. Live as friends, not as enemies. As friends with among ourselves, friends among animals, friends among trees, friendly with the environment. Live with the friendly attitude. That's called avyapada sankappa. The third is avihinsa sankappa, compassion. Compassion, we think of thought, compassionate thought. When somebody has right understanding, these are the thoughts that arise in that person's mind. Then with this thought, the person will speak rightly, correctly. There are 4 kinds of right thoughts, right speeches: speaking the truth, speaking softly, speaking to bring the united, divided to bring together, not to divisive talk, to separate, slanderous talk. And then speak softly, gently, kindly, not harsh speech. Then speak the meaningful thing rather than useless babbling. Meaningful thing. Then right action, live, not killing, not stealing and so forth, right action. Then right livelihood, we learn to live, find an honest livelihood, abstaining from selling and buying weapons, selling and buying poison, selling and buying livestock, selling and buying harmful things, and cheating in business and so forth. And then right effort, as I mentioned earlier, and right mindfulness and right concentration. These are called 8 factors of steps of the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, when one knows that these factors are developed, that person will be very happy, very glad, and he will be shining. And so, the next is again Sariputta Bhikkhu should consider thus: are true knowledge and deliverance realized by me? Knowledge and deliverance, jnana, vimutti jnana darsana. Vimutti jnana darsana. Right, Sariputta.
Is it like a scene?
Huh?
Like a dasana, a scene?
Darsana is saying, right, you are right. Darsana is saying, and vimutti is liberation. Vidya vimutti. Vidya is knowledge. No. Abhavita ko aru. Pancha bhavito me aru attanko mako. Punatapara bhekku parisaikekita bhavita me samato vipassana. Have I developed samatha vipassana? Now, in Buddhist meditation there are 2 aspects. These 2 always go together. Samatha vipassana. Samatha vipassana. Mind, tranquility and mindfulness. Concentration and mindfulness. These are 2 sides of the same coin. One does not develop without the other. One is in the other. For instance, when we practice concentration, the preliminary stages of concentration is mindfulness and clear comprehension, sati sampajanya. In the Noble Eightfold Path, mindfulness is number 7, concentration is number 8. So, these 2 always must go together. So when somebody reviews one's own mental state and asks, have I developed these 2, mindfulness and concentration? If not develop them, if they are developed, then should be happy. Then the next is you see, Bhavitana Samadhi Pasana, Tena Sariputta Bhikkhuna, Tena Priti Pamajjena Vihatabbang Ahoratta Vikina Kusalesu Dhammesu. When you read it in Pali, you really get a thrill. Because it is, Pali words have a very powerful meaning. When you translate into any language, not only English, you lose that spirit. Happy, glad, training day and night in wholesome state. Again, if revealing, he knows that true knowledge and deliverance are not realized by me. True knowledge is Vidya Vimutti. Vidya is a knowledge of Dhamma. Vimutti is using the knowledge of Dhamma one liberates. Knowing Dhamma is one thing, and using that Dhamma to liberate oneself is quite another. Because one can know Dhamma, but may not use it to liberate oneself from suffering. So when somebody, when reviewing, knows that I really know the Dhamma and I have used it, I have used that Dhamma for liberating myself from repetition of birth and death called samsara. Knowing that day and night he would be very happy. Then Buddha concluded the discourse saying, Sariputta, whatever recluses and Brahmins in the past have purified their alms food have all done so by repeatedly revealing thus. Venerable Sariputta said, when the Buddha asked at the beginning, you can see, when the Buddha asked, your faculties are clear, you are very pleasant, what is the secret? He said, Bhante, I am practicing, these days I am living, abiding in sunyata, voidness. Then Buddha added these things. So if you live in voidness, these are the additional things that you have to practice. In addition to what you do. He approved what Venerable Sariputta was doing. Approved it. And he added few more things. What are they? 37 factors of enlightenment. Whatever recluses and Brahmins in the future will purify their alms food, will all do so by repeating, reviving thus. Whatever recluses and Brahmins in the present are purifying their alms food are all doing so by repeatedly reviving thus. Therefore, Sariputta, you should train thus. We will purify our alms food by repeatedly reviving thus. So Buddha gave additional instruction to Venerable Sariputta to purify his alms food. Friends, in Akankheya Sutta, in this, Buddha said, if Bhikkhu, if you wish your supporters who are providing you with food, lodging, robes and shelter, medicine, if you want them to gain greater benefit, practice, purify your mind, liberate your mind from all defilements. You purify your mind, and therefore the people who support you will be benefited. Out of compassion for them, live an honest life. Out of utmost compassion for the monks and for lay people. We say sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.